Here we go. Welcome to Mark My Words, episode 1, Christmas Eve, 2024. Gonna get into a few things today. Um, I was gonna start with Sean McDermott, but that was earlier in the week. Um, we've had 3 college football playoff games kick off. Just talk about that. Talk about the word deserve when it revolves around sports. And then we'll get into something I'm going to call a forgotten tier of or category of NFL teams. So I'm going to start with deserve when it comes to sports. You you've heard this a lot, right? You know, this guy deserves a ring before he retires. No, he doesn't. Nobody, no. Their whole life, whoever it is, Chris Paul, Charles Barkley, Dan Marino. Then you start hearing about these young guys. Justin Jefferson deserves. He doesn't. It sucks that some guys are plagued with um, whether it be a bad organization or a coach or quarterback or whatever the issue is. This is the National Football League we're talking about. All right. It's not easy to get there. It's not easy to stay there. I mean, for the longest time, the longest or the average career was 3 years. It's probably lower than that now. So there's no such thing as deserve when it comes to sports, period. But then you get to college football, and you've got, you know, Indiana deserves it. They went 11-1. All right, who'd they play? And we don't have to talk about out of conference schedules. Alabama plays a week out of conference. Okay, but their in conference games are tough. I mean, yeah, they lost to Vanderbilt, who's been historically bad. Also has Indiana. Um, the Vandy hadn't beat Bama in I think 25 years, and they get him this year. Did you watch the game or did you look at the box score? Vanderbilt was a legitimate football team. Um, Similar to a Georgia Tech, right? Physical, physical, weird run scheme, the option, triple option, play act. It's just a weird offense, right? Vandy wasn't a garbage team. They're not Mercer, okay? So you can't only look at records. We've seen it. We've seen what happens when a deserving team gets into the playoffs. I thought that TCU would have probably been the last they deserve it team to go. Um, but no, I don't understand the there's a system in picking playoff teams, okay? And strength of schedule is the top criteria. But if you go 11-1, then strength of schedule is suddenly out of the window. It doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't matter anymore. I just don't get this whole they deserve. No, they don't. No, they don't. There's criteria to get in, and if you don't get in, I mean, look at the NFL right now. There's tight races everywhere, wild card spots, and even at 13-2, the Lions aren't even guaranteed to win their conference. 13-2, and they might not win their conference. And if it so happens that a division or a conference, I meant they're not guaranteed to win their division. That's what I meant. Um, if a division or conference is so stacked that a team is pretty good and they might miss the playoffs, and in the other side, AFC, NFC, there's a team with the worst record that gets in. That sucks, but not really because that's the criteria. That's how the NFL works. College football is different. It's the same sport. It's a different league, and we need to stop acting like just because you win a lot of games that means you're good. It doesn't. It doesn't mean that. Um, Ole Miss lost to Kentucky. you do realize that Kentucky played Georgia very closely, right? And I understand almost only counts on horseshoes and hand grenades, but it does matter in football. It does. From an objective point of view, there's nuances to the game that matter. And who you play matters, how those games go matter. And just because you win 11 games or 12 games, um doesn't mean you should be in. And then you could get to SMU had to be in, or else they would have punished them for playing an extra game. No, they wouldn't have punished them for playing an extra game. They would have punished them because they suck and they haven't beaten anybody. And when they had the chance to beat a somebody in Clemson, they didn't. They just didn't. Let's talk about not talk about. Let me just jab at Florida State fans real quick. And I know one specific Florida State fan's gonna watch this, and he probably won't be very happy I said this, but Florida State Twitter is going wild. Oh, Georgia's quarterback is hurt. Shouldn't he be out? No, because there's rules and criteria on how you get into the playoffs. Yes, there is, like, I think it's like there's like four. If you look them up, there's like four different criteria they consider. Number four is a key player or coach or something like that is out of the game. But guess what? Yeah, their starting quarterback is out. Um, but they also didn't just beat, what is it, Boston College. They beat Texas with their backup quarterback, and they won their conference, which means that's an automatic bid. I don't want to hear about Carson Beck is hurt. Carson Beck stinks anyways. All right, so Florida State needs to move on. You know, maybe after DJU you can. All right, let's get to the Bills. Mainly Sean McDermott. A couple years ago, probably 2 years ago, I wouldn't have blamed the Bills for moving off of Sean. Um, and if they don't win the Super Bowl this year, I can't. I would not be surprised. I might be surprised, but I wouldn't think that it was a bad idea. I'll tell you why. Sean McDermott, I think, actively cost the Bills games, or at least chances to win the games. Um, this is an offensive league, and look at the teams that are good, right? The Chiefs obviously have great quarterback, great coach. Okay, they might be an exception, but you need a quarterback and you need a coach. Now an owner and a GM would be great to have, but you can win in spite of them sometimes. Um, Now if you're the Bears or the Jets, I think that's too tall of a hill to try to climb. I think that you're pretty much screwed until you get a new regime in there. I mean, look at Washington. A season, one season, and one draft after cleaning house and revamping the entire organization. 10-5, second in their division, and they just beat the Eagles. I mean, yeah, Kenny. So, I'll get back to my rambling. You cannot win in this league. Bad teams beat themselves. Good teams beat other teams, but also, most importantly, they don't beat themselves. The Chiefs have had some Chiefs things happen this year, and I don't think that they're as good as their 14-1 record says that they are. Um, but the Bills, they should have had a shot versus the Rams. Now it was a long shot, but I just don't understand, as a professional football coach, how you can call timeout in that situation. You that was waving the white flag accidentally. He didn't mean to wave the white flag, but he's just so bad at clock management that that's what it was. Now you're relying on an onside kick, which hardly, I mean,
you you basically will never recover an onside kick, basically. And I just don't get it. I don't hate the quarterback sneak, and I don't even hate it twice. Just get up there and run the ball again. What are you calling the timeout for? What are you calling the timeout for? You need the timeouts when you inevitably don't get the onside kick, or you could just kick it deep and then hope for a three and out. Not hope for, but play for a three and out. Your odds are way better to get a three and out than an onside kick. Okay? Um, and then you can go back to the so they've got three losses on their schedule: the Rams, which they should have had a chance, and the Texans, which they probably should have won, and then the Ravens, who just, mm, you know, in what was that, week 3, right? So they realistically could be 14-1, and they would be ahead of the Chiefs because they beat them. But McDermott's decision making or lack thereof cost them. I would say at least one game, because in the Texans game they get pinned inside their own 5 with 46 seconds left. Throw 3 passes in a row, all incomplete. The Texans get the ball back. They return it to like the 45. You could kick it from there. It would be a long field goal, but you could kick it from there. And that's exactly what they did. They got a couple yards, kicked the field goal, won the game. It was a tie ball game. They should have gotten that game into overtime, but they didn't. So now, if they do fire Sean McDermott, and this is why I don't always think that they should fire their coach, because any team, because you look around and you say, who's out there? Oh yeah, other fired coaches or offensive coordinators who have not been head coaches in the league before. Um, what I mean, you're gonna promote Joe Brady? Um, so you'll probably get Ben Johnson. Vrabel's out there, Salah's out there. Um, Stefanski could be. I don't think so, but he could be. Let's see who else is going to be out there. Adrian Pierce probably. Um, Doug Peterson probably be out there. Uh, Mike McCarthy. Earlier, it seemed like a sure thing that he was going to be available. Now, not so much. Not the way with Jerry Jones is talking. But the coach that I haven't heard that I would not be mad about is Brian Daboll. I think Brian Daboll would be good for the Bills. He already worked with Josh Allen. He's obviously this year he's 2-13, but he's had a winning season with the Giants when he shouldn't have. He won Coach of the Year, I believe, 2 years ago? I'm pretty sure he won it, or at least he should have. And if you're gonna move on, I mean, McDermott is a good head coach, okay, but is he a Super Bowl coach? I don't know that. And I mean, he's a defensive guy. But if you're gonna be a defensive head coach, you better have a freaking solid defense. And I mean, the last 3 weeks, the Bills have just got picked on like Swiss cheese back there. I mean, it has not been a solid defense this year. At least not a top of the league defense, especially with a defensive head coach. So if you're gonna lack skill or knowledge on the offensive side of the ball, you better show up for it and hold these other teams to 17 points, 20 points or less probably. Because Josh Allen's gonna put up points, but he only touches the ball so many times a game. All right, so we'll wrap it up here. I'll be back after Christmas to talk about the Steelers game. Got some money on that one, so I'll say it once again. I don't think the Chiefs are as good as their 14-1 record says that they are. If they were in college, maybe they wouldn't make the playoffs if I was on the committee. We'll see, though. We'll see. Y'all have a Merry Christmas.